feel like the more that I do this, the more I feel like I got to get the rust off to get my life back and try to remember how this whole podcast thing worked. But anywho, we ain't gonna waste no time. We're gonna jump right into it. Yet another podcast on the queue. Brighte Podcast back at it again. Early Thursday morning, up and about, mind going, thoughts flowing, and what better way to get stuff off your mind than by jumping online doing a podcast. If you're following me on Snapchat, I did mention a few of the topics, so you might get kind of a brief taste of what's going on. If you're on Instagram and Facebook, you see the images of everything that we'll be discussing. And I got quite a bit of topics that we're going to jump into today. So I'm not going to waste a lot of time. We're going to go ahead and let this thing make it rock. I want to be the first to say before I continue that I don't know about you all, but sports is getting kind of interesting now. You know, at first we kind of had a little downtime, wasn't much going on, wasn't too many things really to talk about or discuss. Then in a matter of a few weeks, we had the Olympics cap off. We got preseason going down. You got players kind of trying to get their mind right for various sports. You know, you got a few rookies signing some contracts. You got some rookies not signing contracts. And it's just been an interesting little stint of sports action going on. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into a few of the topics that I have, and then we'll just kind of let it roll as it does, as I always do. So first topic, Hope Solo was suspended for 6 months due to some very direct comments that she made in regards to the matchup against Sweden. She thought that they were cowards. Now, before I get too heavy into this topic, I want to say something. And the reason I'm going to say something about this is because it's very important when you're a celebrity or when you're a star or whatever the case may be. You have, and I'm kind of going, and I'm kind of doing this conversation in reverse, because it just was bad timing on her part. You know, she mainly, you know, thought that the Swedish team played kind of passive aggressive, and they played the game how they were meant to play it, to win. She felt that they didn't play the game beautiful, so she wasn't a fan of it. Well, now that you made that comment and you calling them cowards, along with the other forms of reputation that have followed you as a player, now you're suspended, you know, for 6 months. And the worst part about it is she loses quite a bit of money. She's going to be out about 50. Let me make sure I get the right number, because when I saw it, it kind of blew my mind, but it made sense too. She's going to end up not being paid for, you know, her normal salary is $72,000 based on the tier or the level of goalie or player that she is. So thanks to that, she'll be losing $36,000 of that. And she typically gets a salary of $56,000 by the Seattle Reign. Oddly enough, despite the suspension, she still gets to play this Saturday. Yeah, I'm going to just give white noise to that, because suspensions are always with asterisks, and part of why there's an asterisk and why she's able to play is because she's filing an appeal in regards to the suspension, because she feels as though she has a First Amendment right. All right. Gonna go off topic, gonna get a little bit in my feelings, and I'm gonna kind of talk about this because from personal experience and as being a blogger on the side as well with podcasting, I feel like we need to learn how the First Amendment right works. We play the card, or we play the presentation of freedom of speech. Yes, you have the right and the ability to say whatever you feel. However, with that saying whatever you feel comes the risk of what could be repercussions behind how you feel. Because if you're affecting a brand or you're affecting a business, then that can come back and trickle down in ways that you just may or may not be able to handle or deal with. So that's the part of it that I feel like she missed in this whole equation, and she's going to learn that. Right now, she's angry and upset because, you know, she felt like she shouldn't have been suspended. That's fair. PR move, smart move. She's going to eventually come out with a speech, saying, "Hey, I apologize. I did not mean for this to be the way it was. Da 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 da. XYZ. Sweep it under the rug. Let's move forward." That would be the way of how it all works and how it kind of blends in. And I ain't gonna say you get away with it, but it's almost like, hey, I learned my lesson. I really didn't mean for it to be this type of ordeal, but I was just speaking how I felt about, how the game went. They lost the game. Bottom line, losing it on a penalty kick and you got outplayed as a goalie. Own it. That's plain and simple. And I think that's what makes it an interesting topic and why I wanted to add that as one of the first topics, because it was kind of like, okay, the Olympics are over, but this story came back to America. So, yeah, she was suspended 6 months without pay. And it's crazy because she's 35. So in soccer years, that's pretty young, kind of oldish, I guess. But she'll likely be playing in the World Cup in 2019. So we'll see how that goes and what the status is in regards to that. Let's see. Next topic I have, sorry for the white noise, because I'm kind of just trying to think this all through, because it was quite a bit of interesting madness going on. Joey Bosa, number 3 overall pick from the recent NFL draft for the Chargers, still in a holdout as far as getting a contract done. A while back, Antonio Gates tried to talk to him and figure out something. Currently, his holdout is at 20. As far as Gates talking to him, he kind of gave him some words of wisdom and some thoughts on it, and he's kind of been trying to deal with it the best he can, because he wants to get, as a rookie, you want to get the best contract, and then even worse, he's a lottery pick. So as a lottery pick, you're trying your hardest to get a pretty good contract. I mean, anybody would. So currently his holdout is at 24 days, and that is oddly enough the longest tenure for a rookie to be out. And let's see, Article 7. So I'm reading this article because it's kind of interesting. They break down how intense it is when it comes to players playing or getting contracts or whatever the case may be. It's tough because you should think that they should be able to just handle this and kind of say, hey, let's go ahead and get them on a contract and get them on the road and get them start playing. But it's not that easy. So we're gonna just kind of keep our eye on this story, because I think it's getting kind of simply out of hand, the point it's gotten to. But in hindsight, I think what could happen at the worst, which really is scary, is that he actually could go to another team, or he just might not play this season. And if he doesn't play this season, that's gonna look really bad for San Diego, especially with him being a defensive player. And San Diego needs all the help they can get, especially with the struggles they're having in their division right now. So, you want to try and value and get everybody that you can. So that's the main basis of that story. Hopefully next time we come back and do a podcast, he'll have a contract, or they'll come up with both sides will settle on a good deal. That's pretty much what it's all about in the end, right? So there's that story. And then this story, I'm adding this as kind of a wild card, but I'm adding it also because it's relevant to me in its own unique way. And I'll explain why in a moment. So the Premier League, now for America, the Premier League has become a much bigger brand. And I talked to a friend of mine. We're both like true soccer heads. Oddly enough, I went to see him play soccer, and supposedly, and every time I look at my cleats, I get reminded I need to go out there and play. So, yeah, I kind of rumbled through that real quick, but realistically, we sit and have the most random yet productive conversations involving soccer. And one of the topics that came up is the new branding that the Premier League is doing. So for those who don't know or need a little bit of a history lesson briefly, the Premier League has always been known as Barclays Premier League. Well, the contract ended this year, and Premier League looked at it as, we really appreciate your service, but we don't need your branding on our main logo. Now, that doesn't mean that Barclays is not involved with anything with the Premier League. They're just not going to have it on their logo anymore. So I thought about it, and it makes a lot of sense if you really look at it. The Premier League matches have been shown on TV. I know for me, I started watching it back in 2013. It probably had been on a few years before that, but in 2013 was kind of like the breakout year between 2013 and 2014. Because I'm not gonna lie, 2014, I had a few things going on, and when I had the first opportunity to do so, Saturdays, it didn't matter what was going on, I was watching soccer. Period. Last year and most of this year, it's a little different because when Saturdays come around, I kind of miss my matches, but I try to make up for it on Sunday, hit or miss, see how it goes. But anyway, random rambling, but they've changed the logo. So now the logo just has the lion and it says Premier League. Believe it or not, I personally like it. I was kind of caught off guard because I was watching the game on TV and I was like, where's Barclays? And then I looked at the uniforms, forgive me, soccer fans, do not kill me. I observed the kits that they were wearing and it didn't have the Barclays, branding on it anymore. So it's one of those things that just comes down to, it's all about change. But it's all about creating their own identity, which I think works for the Premier League, because the Premier League has kind of become like top notch. Like, you have a lot of players who will play, for instance, Pogba was Serie A. If I'm not mistaken, I know I have a few folks who will tell me where he was at before, because I know Pogba. I solely know him strictly from watching people play FIFA 16. And by the way, random rant, I will be streaming FIFA 17 because I feel like I need to get my streaming brand like off the ground, and I've kind of talked about doing it, but I haven't really followed through with doing it, so that's going to change. But random plug, sorry. Anyway, I truly like the idea, because there are a lot of players like even Zlatan came from PSG where he was the man and he joined Man U. So for him to join Man U, yes, I know Mourinho's there and that was a key part of it, but for him to go to Man U and go into the Premier League means a lot, if you really look at it and think about it. Now you got players like David Luiz, you got Fernando Torres, you got different players who have left, for their preferred reasons. But in hindsight, it's not a bad league. And I mean, the part for me that I like, and this is what pushes the Premier League to be where it is. A team can be in the top and have a good season, and then they can have a trickled, mediocre, borderline season. But if you hit into that relegation status where you end up being relegated, like Aston Villa, I can't think of the other two teams offhand, but 3 teams get relegated and 3 new teams come in. So it was like Hull City came back, and Hull City's, coming in with a lot more to prove, because they're, the Hull City Tigers have literally been like kind of looked at as like the John or Jane Does of the league. And that was just like Leicester, when they came in, they came in from relegation and they came in and just won the cup. So it's things like that you really got to think about. Sorry, I'm on a major tangent with soccer, but anybody who knows me knows I can talk soccer as best as I can keep up with it, and I enjoy it because it's never ending conversation, and they make it a worthwhile conversation piece. All right. My next topic is a funny one. It's a random one, but I wanted to go ahead and do it anyway because I can, and because it actually makes sense if you really look at where basketball is. So Derrick Rose is turning into what I call the Rasheed Wallace 2.0 / prediction maker / dreams never hurt to believe, I guess. So a few weeks ago, if I'm recalling it correctly, he stated that the Knicks had the power squad, or the big four, or whatever you want to call it. Like they had a big squad. Like as far as with Durant, when Durant went to Golden State, you had Durant, Steph, Klay Thompson, and oddly enough, Draymond Green. Like a lot of people are like, how did Draymond Green get at? But he has an All-Star appearance Knicks, if I'm recalling correctly. And I don't like not being fact checked because I want to have a few. This is where having another person like helps. But anyway, he is, part of that mix. But I don't know. I'm sorry. Let me rewind. Draymond Green was an all-star pick, or he does have an all-star appearance. So you pretty much have 4 all-stars playing on one team. So with that being said, you now have the Knicks with Derrick Rose, Carmelo Anthony, Brandon Jennings, Courtney Lee. I can't think of any other big factors who came over. But now, yeah. The first part of this article is so interesting. The first thing they say, he considered himself to be a superstar team. A super team. Now I think we have a chance to win every game in the league. That's rare. So, I have a problem. Now, I'm not taking away from the dream of them winning 82 games, but Golden State pushed and Golden State got 73. They went 73-9, and it was a tough battle, but they got it done. But this is the Knicks we talking about. And I know a lot of my friends who are Knicks fans are listening. I would call out names, but I'm not that petty, and I don't have a reason to be. But that being said, it's the Knicks we talking about. It's only one basketball. You have to, the key, make a break behind a team either doing well or doing somewhat well, or whatever, however you want to put it, is chemistry. I don't know how I feel about the chemistry of this team. I don't think they know how they feel about the chemistry of this team. Carmelo has just come back from the Olympics. He's got his 3rd gold medal. Props, major props to him. I think that's a big deal, whether you realize it or not. What he has to look at now is that same winning / team-based formula that he used at the Olympics. He got to bring back to New York. And the tough part for him is I get it. Being money-oriented and you trying to get paid, that's the goal of the game. That's the league. That ain't going to change. I don't care what year, what status you are in the game. That's your observation and your goal. No problem, no arguments from me whatsoever. But it's still the New York Knicks. And I'm sorry. How could I forget? I was like, it's supposed to be 5 guys. I can't think of it, but the 5th guy is not. This is his sophomore year. Sophomore year always is questionable because it's either you go through the major growth stint, you hit the wall. And I think, in my honest opinion, Porzingis has a chance where he could actually flourish. Him and Carmelo as a 1-2 punch were pretty good last year. I think they can, as with any team, with any player, you have room to grow and improve. So I think they'll be able to do that with no problem. And I'm sorry, before I continue, if you missed any brief part of that part of the conversation I just had, that last few seconds, please forgive me. Did a microphone adjustment, and that's something I'm still trying to learn and work on. Trying to get some equipment to kind of fine tune things, and that's coming. Just stay tuned. That's all I can tell you. But can they go 82-0? Absolutely not. Every team, and somebody brought this to my attention yesterday or a few days ago, and it's a valid point and it's a valid conversation piece. Every team comes into the league or into the game stating, hey, we're the best team and we have a chance of going 82-0. If you're not playing the game to try and win, then there's a problem. I don't care if you're the Knicks. I don't care if you're the Kings. I don't care if you're the Bucks, the Brooklyn Nets, even the Cleveland Cavaliers. Every team is going in trying to win every game. Now, there are things that factor into that could cause that winning, that streak to be flawless or to be flawed. Injuries, chemistry, team morale, multiple things. And I know morale and chemistry kind of go hand in hand, and yes, I'm kind of just dabbling with that one, but you get my point. Anyway, that being said, we're going to just kind of watch how this all comes out, because I think the key, the major observation that you'll have to go by with this is going to be what happens once they actually, when preseason comes around for the NBA. I truly and directly hope that Rose is able to play all, at least 70 to 75 games. Because it's not often you really hear of a guy playing 82 games. Even Popovich was resting some of his players. I think the best one Popovich did, and this is random, and then I'm going to go into the next topic. When Popovich said he sat Tim Duncan and they said reason old. If that is not the most calm yet petty approach I've ever seen, I don't know what is. Because it's so crazy, especially with him, and I'm hoping they don't do it. They don't do it again, because it was a point when they had the, I think they didn't have the best record, but they were up for when it came to All-Star break, that he was eligible to be the coach for the West All-Stars. And you can just see him like in an odd place because he's trying to figure out, okay, I'm not running offense plays. I'm just kind of out there just kind of getting guys in and out the game to kind of give him time or whatever. But it was so interesting because he just does not. And it was more intriguing because Kawhi Leonard, he played, but it wasn't like a major impact on the game. So, all right. Enough basketball rambling. I know y'all like, okay, Brian, it's football season. Why are you so into basketball? You've been into soccer and all this. But y'all know me. I'm going to always do that. And my next topic, oddly enough, is about basketball. And the story is that Brandon Ingram has gotten paid by the Lakers. So it's a coincidence because you got Joey Bosa, number 3, with an NFL, not getting paid. And, Brandon Ingram with the Lakers, number 2 pick, got that money. And an interesting part about it was they were going to do this move where they were going to get it all structured out. It just, you had it all. It was timing. You also look at it. Kobe's retired. You already know you need to sign him. You got Julius Randle, I think a year or two away from his from the end of his rookie contract. D'Angelo Russell is coming into his sophomore year. And it's kind of interesting because, like, you play college, you go through freshman, and then you either become a sophomore, you go NBA, and then you become an NBA player, you're a rookie, and then your second year is that sophomore year, or that second, do you go through that, do you hit that wall, do you hit that hump, do you just kind of flourish more? What happens? And I think D'Angelo Russell will get a larger opportunity to have the green light this year. Jordan Clarkson is a pretty good player. It's gonna just come down to everyone doing what they need to do. And then the more interesting factor of it too is Luke Walton's gonna be the coach. Don't know how I feel about that. I think I've talked about that in one of my podcasts. I think he's gonna be okay. The only advantage he has is he has a young team. So having a young team and coaching young players kind of works out hand in hand. It's kind of a shifting of the gears with basketball because you don't have a lot of coaches who are tenured anymore. And the NBA now, at least in my opinion, the NBA has become more impatient. And when I say that, I mean it as if you come in and you play and you have a good season or you stand out or whatever the case may be, you stay. Like Popovich is not going to go anywhere. Popovich can have a losing season. They're not going to get rid of him. Phil could pretty much do whatever he wanted to whenever he wanted to. Pat Riley, Lenny Wilkins, Rick Carlisle has even gotten through the slip of the cracks. Stan Van Gundy, Jeff Van Gundy, all of the Doc Rivers. I'm trying to think of who else. All of the coaches that I'm naming, got that. Mike Fratello, yeah, because Fratello did coach. Hubie Brown for that brief stint when he coached. I think Hubie Brown has knowledge that a lot of people take for granted when it comes to basketball. And I know I'm supposed to be talking about these topics I got in front of me, but I want to get this out there because I think it's important because someone listening may need to know this. What helps or hurts a lot of players now is a lot of them look at the game and play it as if, hey, I know what I'm doing. You don't need to tell me what to do. But the reality of it is the game has evolved and changed in ways that a lot of people don't understand. And one example of that is coaches now, we'll take it away from coaches for a second. I'm going to place it on players. Players, typical practice years ago would be, hey, let's all get together, let's run some drills, do some sprints, run some plays, kind of go back and forth against each other, work on things we need to build on, improve on, whatever, things of that sort. Now, folks come in with beats with their Beats by Dre, their headphones, their music, their Bluetooth, they set up, they jamming and they chilling, and then they just like, hey, I want to go over here on this court and just work on my game. I work on everything with the rest of the team as needed, but right now I want to just work on my game. Like, let me sit here and shoot 900 free throws. Granted, that's important because a lot of players miss free throws, and I still just cringe when I see people who don't bend knees when they shoot free throws. But anyway, tangent again, coming back. Brandon Ingram's contract will be a 4-year deal worth nearly $24 million. First year the contract will be 5.3. Usually with contracts, as I've learned and as I have to keep getting reminded, it'll increase each year. And so you're looking at 2021 or 2020. 2020 will be when he will be eligible to go through the free agency / contract negotiation, and he'll be blending into what we define as the future of the NBA. So keep your eyes out. I mean, I think he's going to be a good fit for LA. They point this out about him, and I don't need to say it enough because it's already been clear. But he's got to get weight. But it's kind of like a give and take, because I mean, Kevin Durant technically doesn't have much weight that he's built over the years, but he's able to hold his position. So same would apply with Brandon Ingram. So we'll just kind of watch him and see how it plays. And I'd say that on every conversation, because you really kind of don't know what you will get or what you won't get until he just plays, and then it's like, oh, he actually doesn't play that bad. He just gained an extra 5 pounds and he's all right. So but I like him. He can play. That's the main and most important factor of it all, is that he gets out there and he can score at will and he can get buckets. That's what you want out of any player. All right, final topic, and I know I've jumped well past my typical tangent mark, because luckily it's the joy of having new features with my updated subscription, because normally it would be a 15-minute podcast and I'm dropping the mic and I'm gone. So getting this extra time, and I got a little bit more conversation I can throw in. This conversation is probably going to be the most entertaining, and it's oddly enough about football. So yes, I jumped around, did soccer, football, basketball, and then football. So yes, I do what I do because I love what I love. And sports is just that interesting and that long-winded to talk about. But anyway, Dez Bryant, lead wideout for the Dallas Cowboys. Don't worry, I'm not going to make bad conversation about Dallas because a lot of people know me. But he's in his feelings. He gets my InMyFeelings.net award for the week, because on Madden 17, everybody, and I never realized how serious this is with sporting games until they release the ratings, either before the game comes out or once it drops, is you find out what your ratings are. And from what it seems, or from where it stands, it looks as though Dez Bryant got a 90 rating, and he doesn't like it because that kind of tainted him or made him feel as though he was the 8th best wide receiver in as far as rating. I can't think of any other wideouts who would be ranked higher other than I can't think of a man named from. Gosh, this is why I don't like watching or keeping up with certain stories. But for the Giants, the top wideout for the Giants. What I'm not really concerned about with him, or what he needs to really think about, is your ratings are going to change. If you're looking at what your starting rating is, they're just rating it on just solely they're just rating solely on not preseason, but just off season and what they can go on raw information. So this is where social media can kind of win, but it also loses, because you can make a comment and give an opinion, but then when you make a comment, you have to know what to say. Or this is, or better yet, I'll put it this way: this is where communication is important, and here's why. He says, we're gonna see just what we're just gonna see what happens. Like I told Madden, they put me at 90. I'm not worried about that. The rating gonna shoot up real quick. You best believe that. So he gave that as a response to getting the 90 rating. Now, EA Sports was petty, but because they were petty, he missed the petty remark, so it went wrong and just odding out the way. So he said, so EA Sports responded and said, Des Bryant, your kick rating seems to be weighing down your overall. They put a smiley face. Communication 101. If Des Bryant had made a laugh about it or made it a joke, then EA Sports' response or conversation to it wouldn't have been as massive. So then Bryant, took it and just kind of ran with it. So he says, I got to be a megastar. I laugh and joke about Madden rating, and it gets a lot of attention. Unbelievable. Be blessed, young man. Then he says, just for the record, EA Madden NFL, I was never mad. I see you can't have fun these days. LOL X for his mark or whatever. I'm going to say this. And it's kind of it's kind of coincidental because it was a startup and it's going to be the ending. First Amendment, communication, thoughts, interpretation, statements, thoughts, ideas, theories, and analytics, etc., etc. You can put all of it on a piece of paper. You can throw it out there to somebody, but it's how it's interpreted or it's how it's responded to that can either cause or disperse friction. And here's what I mean when I say that. Yes, Des Bryant has every right, if he didn't like his rating, to give his thoughts on it. But also understand, with anything, you never know who's reading or who's noticing or who is going to give their input about what you're feeling or where you stand. EA Sports carried it and they smiled it off, and it was like he missed that they were joking, but it's like he feels as though because he's a star that they look at where he stands and how he feels about stuff. Newsflash, you're a star. What you say is going to be picked up a lot quicker than anyone else's thoughts. If it was Calvin Johnson, if Calvin Johnson was ranked last as a wide receiver, if he decided, let's say he decided to unretire, and he was ranked below Des Bryant, does Des Bryant say, "Oh, I feel like Calvin Johnson should have been ranked higher than me"? I mean, I guess, like, I don't know. I think it's like you could make something simple become way more complex than what it should be, and it shouldn't work out that way. But when you're dealing with the media and when you're dealing with saying what you feel, sometimes saying what you feel is not always the best thing to do. So a lot of times it's just better off just shut up and just play, or just live your life. I truly admire Des Bryant as a wideout. He can play. He does his job on the field. Off the field, he's become more well-rounded and done things a lot more by the book. It takes us going through learning curves and growing pains to kind of get out of our little wall or whatever we're dealing with. So that's kind of the case with him now. His rating will probably get up to the mid 90s by the as the season goes along, because he's a wide receiver. When anytime you play against Dallas, you have to look for him. So I thought that was funny, but I was like, I had to share that story because it was kind of random. It wasn't really sports related. It was more video game related, but I had to share. And since I am doing sports related or gaming related, NBA 2K7 has announced that they will be doing the face scanning feature. I forgot which game did it, and it just horrendously went wrong. I want to say it was Live 16, and I tried to play that, and it was I think my Xbox is still wanting that space back from when it was attempted to be downloaded and then taken off. It wants to recover all that space. But anyway, that's the end of my podcast. No, all jokes aside, like, I truly, I trip off of just certain things that, like, as far as the face scanning, I think that's going to be a pretty nifty idea, as long as they perfect it. In most games, most times, it takes you having to go through the fails and doing it wrong to get it right, and I think this time they'll be able to get it right, because when you did it, or when you do something before and it didn't go the way you expected, you can kind of say, all right, well, let's see what we did different, what we need to change, and they'll change it, and it kind of works out to their advantage. So that's all I have to say on that regard, and I am all fini with my topics. So with that being said, I hope everyone has enjoyed the podcast. I am really glad that I'm getting where I am with this. Hopefully soon I can start getting some stats and some numbers on where I stand as far as my podcast. And I'm still trying to, like, what I want most of all, and I don't know if anyone has the ability to do so, please email me at bratapodcast@gmail.com, because I would love to get feedback and information on my podcast, because that's the only way that it becomes better. Like I said, I have equipment that I'll be getting soon to kind of fine tune a few things and kind of make it a little bit easier and less stressful and way more streamlined. So if you're not already following, check out Instagram, Brate Podcast. You'll see the topics that I'm going to talk about before I go live. If you're following me on Snapchat, Brate82, I'll usually talk about the topics at a certain point on my page. It's a matter when you catch it. I'm on Facebook under Brate Podcast, Twitter Brate Podcast as well. Personal pages, all Brate82. If you look for Brate82 or Brate Podcast online through Google, everything will show up. So I am going to cut it off here. Longest closing ever. You all be blessed. Stay positive. Do something good in your life. And until next time, this is BT signing out. Peace.